Welcome in for another edition of the Single Life. Of course, I never start any message or any platform or any opportunity on the platform. Let me say it like that. I never start any opportunity on the platform without letting you all know how much I appreciate you guys for tuning in and locking in with me, with NLIM, with our pastor GM2, um, because what we do when we do these, it's just a more intimate and intimate. We're using the word intimate loosely because we're not close as far as proximity goes, but a more intimate atmosphere for us to be able to share and engage and work together. So thank you, thank you. I appreciate you for locking in and just continuing to rock each and every week that we get together. I got a lot that I want to get into today. I'm really excited. I'm really excited about our subject matter today as far as the single life is concerned. And I hope that you are as well. I hope that you are able to grow and gain a lot from today's message. But I'll give you guys a chance to kind of get in. I know we're at work and people kind of get in and get acclimated and everything like that. So to my new people coming in, good morning, good afternoon, good afternoon. Thank you so much again for partnering with us and allowing us to kind of work together and work through this thing called the single life. But without further ado, let's get into it, right? So you guys know that we have been working with this topic of distractions, right? We've been working with this topic of distractions. Hey, Priscilla, what's happening? We have been working with this topic of distractions and the distraction of dating, right? So I want to give you guys a definition because I want to stay right in that element. I want to give you guys a definition that we will work from today. Distractions, an object that directs one's attention away from something else. I'll give it to you again. Distractions, an object that directs one's attention away from something else. All right, so I'm gonna ask this question. You guys feel free to light up the chat. Um, but where do distractions come from? Right? Like, where do distractions come from? And I mean, as far as we are concerned with our everyday life, where do distractions come from? Do you have the thought process that distractions are a thing of God, or do you have the thought process that distractions are of the devil? Like, where do distractions come from? Serious question. Where do distractions come from? And I really want you to think about that. Where do distractions come from? And when we're thinking about where they come from, we also have to think about how do hey, good afternoon. We also have to think about where distractions come from, and how is it that when we are distracted, right? How is it that when we are distracted, there are the enemy, and I'll give you a hint, right? The enemy tends to know exactly what we have going on, exactly what our weakness is, and exactly kind of how to catch us at the right time in the right space to kind of get us to make the wrong decisions. I want you guys to think about that. Like, how is that possible? Right? How is that possible? How is that possible? How is that possible? All right. Let's think about this. The enemy has three jobs: to steal, kill, and destroy. The enemy has three jobs. It's real simple. The enemy has three jobs: to steal, kill, and destroy, right? And he works, I mean, he's amazing at doing what he does when it comes to that, right? He's amazing. He knows how to do that job very well: to steal, kill, and destroy. But he can only do that as much as we allow him to do that. We have to give the enemy the space or the avenue to be able to do those things. He can't come in and distract us if we don't open the door, right? You have to open it. Like, he's going to bring the distraction to you. Let me not say it like that. He's going to bring the distraction to you, but you have a decision to make as to open the door and follow that lead, right? That's the whole ploy of the enemy. But let's look at it. Let's look at it, because you got to understand this. None of us, and I do mean none of us, not any one of us, are greater or higher up than Jesus was. And I don't think there's any argument or discussion or debate there. None of us are any higher up or any more intelligent than Jesus is, right? So if that's the case, you got to understand that in the text, Jesus was distracted. Well, Jesus was tempted with distractions. Let me say it like that. Jesus was tempted with distractions. So if Jesus was tempted with distractions, please tell me that you are not in this place where you think you are going to exist in this thing that we have called life, and you're not going to be distracted. You're not going to have temptations that come your way. That's par for the course, right? And so when you're in dating, you've got to understand that the enemy knows what you desire. The enemy knows what you desire in a mate, what you want your mate to look like, what you might want his salary to be, the car he drives. Like, the enemy knows these things. So when he seeks to give you a distraction, you've got to think and know that he's going to come at you not with something that you don't want, but rather coming at you with something that he knows that you want and desire. Come on now, let's think about it, right? We got to think through it. All right, so I'll give you the text. Let's look at it. Let's look at Jesus for a second so we can kind of break this thing down. All right, so yeah. All right, so Jesus is tested in the wilderness. We are going to look at Matthew 4, 1 through 11. Matthew 4, 1 through 11. Then Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted by the devil. Think about that. Jesus was led by the Spirit into the wilderness to be tempted. So Jesus was tempted. So we can't ever get to a space and say, man, I wonder why I'm being tested. That's par for the course. It's a combo. It comes with it. After fasting for 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. Now let's think about this, right? Because I want you to also take into consideration the emotional side of this, right? So I don't know if you all have ever participated in a fast, right? And when you're on a fast and you're not eating, your body is still hungry, right? You still desire food. And especially if you work around people and they're not on the same fast that you're on, and they're able to eat whenever they feel like it, right? So they're warming up food. You smell it in the office. They DoorDash, they're ordering it, whatever it is. You smell the aroma of that food in the office, right? And so now that serves as a tough distraction because you know you're on a mission. So you've got to think about that. Jesus fasted for 40 days and 40 nights. And so the scripture says he was hungry. The tempter came to him and said, if you are the Son of God, tell these stones to become bread. Now, could Jesus have done that? Absolutely. He could have. But Jesus knew this was a distraction, and I cannot give way to the distraction. The same way in dating, you've got to be able to look at things and say, this isn't God, this is a distraction. This isn't God. I know this is a distraction, and I know this is a ploy to take me off course or to reroute me away from where God called me to be and the direction that I'm supposed to be moving in. So I cannot fall victim to this. Don't worry about it. Let's look at how Jesus handled it, right? So Jesus answered, it is written, man shall not live by bread alone, but on every word that comes from the mouth of God. Verse 5. Then the devil took him to the holy city and had him stand at the highest point of the temple and said, if you are the Son of God, he said, throw yourself down, for it is written. Think about this. Now, the devil speaks to Jesus and tells Jesus what is written in the word. He says, for it is written, he will command his angels concerning you, and they will lift you up in their hands so that you will not strike your foot against a stone. So now bring it back to 2024. So the devil, in conversation with Jesus, gives him the text, gives him the word, so he knows the word. How can you think that you, with your intelligent self, are not going to be distracted in such a way with things that you truly desire? The enemy knows what you desire. He's going to come. His job is to do what? Steal, kill, and destroy. He wins every time he accomplishes one of those missions. And trust me, he is feasting in the dating atmosphere because we have physical desires, we have mental desires, and so because of those things, when something starts to come your way that looks like what you desire, you latch on to it. When something starts to come your way that you like, ooh, I've been praying for this, but that's not what you've been praying for. But I've been praying for this, but that is not the answer. That's not what you've been praying for. That's a distraction. See, we looked at the definition of distractions, and we've got to understand that in this arena of dating, our job is in the single life. Let me back up. In the single life, our job is to be in lockstep with God. Our job is to be in such a space or operate in such a way that we hear from God and we move according to our relationship, how much we convert. We're talking. You and God are talking. And you and God are talking in such a way that when that man, for ladies, when that man comes in the picture and tries to say something, you like, no, I already know that's not God. Me and God, we already talked. That's you, not him. Not right now. It's not you. Right? It's not you. You know that. Guys, when that lady comes and she looks exactly like, oh man, she is beautiful. Shaped perfectly. Talk very intelligent. She talks intelligently. Has all the things that we desire. But we are in such lockstep and in sync with God that when God says, listen, I know that look, it's a facade. It looks like what you want, but it's not what you need. It looks like what you want, but it's not what you need. Not at this time in your life, because it's going to serve as a distraction that's going to move you away. It's going to separate you from me. And as it separates you from me, you will hear more of what the enemy wants you to hear and less of what I'm trying to get you to hear and less of the direction that I'm trying to get you to move in. So that is why it's imperative for us to understand how much our relationship in the single life has to connect with God. Like you and God got to be one. You got to think about it. Back when Adam had the responsibility of naming the all of the animals, right? And it says that Adam was in such of in sync in such a way with God that every name that he called an animal was the name that God was giving the animal. Like he was in sync. And I'm saying, like, that's how we have to move. Now we have to be in such conversation and communion. And that's why the words is you have to commune with God. Like you are in such a way and in a space that you constantly hear God. So you're able to dictate and see, like, no, I know I want that. Physically, I'm tired of being alone. Physically, I'm lonely, right? Physically, I'm there. But spiritually, I'm so built up that I'm able to pass through the loneliness and still stay focused on God because I know He's my comfort. I know He's my source. So anytime I try to make an emotional decision and say, all right, I'm lonely right now, so I'm going to open myself up to this person so that I'm no longer lonely. And that person, we know, like you're able to later see that was a distraction. But God says, I want you to see that it was a distraction on the front end, not the back end. Okay. All right, let's continue. All right. So Jesus answered him and said, it is also written, do not put the Lord your God to the test. Again, the devil took him to a very high mountain and showed him all the kingdoms of the world and their splendor. All this I will give to you, he said, if you will bow down and worship me. Jesus said to him, away from me, Satan, for it is written, worship the Lord your God and serve him only. Then the devil left him and the angels came and attended him. So what does that say to me? If we are able to resist the distractions, if you are able to pursue the goal and the course that God has you on, you will win. You will win. You will win. You've got to see yourself winning. Am I single right now? Yes. Would I like to be married? Yes. But right now, my course is not marriage at this phase. My course is, God has already charted the course. So that means it's not marriage right now because there's something bigger. There's a bigger assignment. There's a bigger mission that I've got to tend to before I can get to that one. There's a bigger mission. And I can't sacrifice the mission for a distraction. I can't. Oh man, we love Christmas time. When it's time to be booed up and take the matching pajama pictures and take the family pictures and all that, that's cool. We like it and we want to be there, absolutely. But it's more important for me to be where God wants me to be. And if God doesn't want me to be in that relationship, I'm gonna stay single until it's the right relationship. I'll stay single until it's the right person. I don't want to keep dating. Listen, my daughter and I were talking the other day, and she was telling me about a little situation she got into at summer camp, She said, Dad, they were trying to talk about me for my relationship history. I said, Jordan, what? I said, baby, you ain't got no relationship history. What you talking about? What you mean? Baby, you don't have no history. Baby, you a child of God and you focused on God and that's it. You ain't focused on nothing else. Stop playing with me, right? But what I'm saying is we've got to begin to look at the fact that, bro, we have created quite a history as it pertains to dating. We've got quite the resume. And let me ask you a question. Where has that resume gotten you? That should let you know we were making decisions that weren't the right decisions. They were emotional decisions. They were decisions based on what we needed or felt in the moment. And God says, I'm bigger than the moment. I'm bigger than the moment. I'm trying to get you to see everything objectively instead of subjectively. Don't just focus on the right now. Don't just focus on I'm tired of being single. No, God, while I'm single, while I'm in this space, God, I'm open to whatever you're calling me to do. I'm open to whatever direction you're calling me to move in. See, sometimes you got to understand you may have to remain in the single life because the single life will allow you to be flexible. And God needs you to be flexible so that you can move as he's calling you to move, so that you can go as he's calling you to go. There's a mission that you have where you are. There's a mission. We can't lose that for the distractions. All right, let's go here. Because I also want to, I segue right into this, right? We've got to think about this. Emotions also equal distractions. Emotions also equal distractions. We've got to understand how to process things within and not allow that void to cause us to make weak decisions. See, think about it. Think about it. Jesus was fasting. You all know when you're fasting, you are what? Weaker. Your body is just naturally weak because you haven't fed it physically what it needs. But emotions, see, when we're in our emotional phase, we make decisions based on what we feel, not based on what we know. We go with what we feel. I'm trying to get you to stick with what you know. How do I know it? Because God said it to me. How do I know it? Because he revealed it to me in my prayer time. How do I know it? Because I remain steadfast in the word. That's how I know. I'm not doing things based on what I feel. See, moving based on what I feel will cause us to make a losing decision every time. Because see, you do know feelings change. Feelings change. Feelings change. They change hourly, they change daily, they change weekly. Feelings change, emotions change. So if we're only making decisions off emotions, we never have a baseline to go off of because you may have been angry when you made the last decision. You may have been excited when you made this decision. You may have been depressed when you made this decision. You may have, like if you make decisions based off emotions, you're gonna always be losing the battle because we should make this. Let me not. I don't want to go too fast. All right. So I want to give you something. I want to look at another text, right? If you guys will allow me, times at 12:18. If you guys will allow me, let's jump to 2 Kings 5:20 through 27. 2 Kings 5. No, my bad. That's not what I want. I want 1 John 2:15 through 17. 1 John 2:15 through 17. All right. And I'm going to read from the Passion Translation, okay? So 1 John 2:15 through 17, I'm going to read from the Passion Translation. Don't set the affections of your heart on this world or in loving the things of this world. The love of the Father and the love of the world are incompatible. I'm going to finish, but I just need you to hear that. The word says the love of this world and the love of the Father are incompatible. They are oil and water. They don't mix. See, what happens when we are in our emotions, or we're in this thing of moving as the world moves, but we're not supposed to be, our belief system is supposed to be changed when we got baptized and we became born again. Your belief system is supposed to change because you're no longer of this world, right? But listen, let's not dive into that. The word says that the love of the world and the love of the Father, they're incompatible. They won't mix because the way the world wants you to move and the way God is telling you to move, they don't go together. See, the world is full of distractions. Don't believe me? I'm going to keep reading. Verse 16, for all that the world can offer us, the gratification of our flesh, the allurement of things of the world, and the obsession with status and importance, none of these things come from the Father, but they come from the world. See, all these distractions, they're not of God. These distractions, they're of the world. And every time we take a bite of the distraction, every time we sink in with the distraction, what happens? The enemy wins because he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And he says, if I can steal a day from you, if I can steal a week from you, if I can get you in a relationship and now I have the ability to steal years from you, I'm going to set you back years in this relationship because it's not the right person. See, we are so fixated on a desire to be with someone. Bro, be with God. I'm with God. I'm okay being single. Like, the single life is not a negative space. The single life is not a failing space. You being in the single space, you're not a failure. Hear me when I tell you, you're not a failure because you're X age and you're still single. You're not a failure. You're on assignment. You're on assignment. God, I thank you for trusting me with the assignment. See, in your younger phase, you kind of plan out life. And you say, oh my God, when I turn 25, I want to be married and I want to have 2 or 3 kids and I want to do this, this, and this, right? So we plan that in our mind. And because we planned it in our mind, we feel like it must happen. And if it didn't happen, we failed at life. But God says, you can't fail if you're with me. You can't fail when I have you covered. You can't fail when you're on a mission or on an assignment for me, because that is the utmost importance. That is the utmost importance. Okay. All right. So none of these things come from the Father, but from the world. This world and its desires are in the process of passing away. But those who love to do, listen to what it says, but those who love to do the will of God will live forever. What does it mean when it says those who are willing, those who love to do the will of God? It's okay to be on track with what God is calling you to do, even when the world says, oh no, you on the outskirts, you an outsider. We all on this trend. Baby, it's okay. Y'all got that trend. One thing I know about trends is that they come and go. But I know one thing, in my 35 years on this earth, I know one thing that has remained the same, and that's God. That's God. God has remained the same. Trends happen. Man, at one point, y'all were wearing bell bottoms. And then bell bottoms went out. And now bell bottoms back in. At one point, it was about wearing baggy clothes. And now it's about wearing real tight clothes. I don't understand that one yet. I hadn't gotten into it in that regard. But like, the baggy jeans were the thing. Now it's like you got to wear the tightest jeans. Right? It's trending. The world has trends. It's got to constantly change to keep you entertained. And that's where another distraction comes in, is because the world keeps giving you these trends that are short-lived, but they seem exciting in the moment. And God, being the same God, never changing, that seems boring, because God, you're always the same. And that seems boring, but it's truly what we need. We need stability. We need longevity. And the trends don't provide longevity. The trends provide a short-lived desire, a short-lived appeasement. That's what trends give us. But the word says, I will read it to you again. This world and its desires are in the process of passing away. They won't be here. What will remain? God. And God's purpose, and God's assignment, and God's mission. And God is waiting for people who say, God, I love you more than the world. I love you more than what the world is trying to push me to say. I got to be married at this age, or I got to be in a relationship in this season of my life. No, God, I love you more. I just have to be with you. I'm okay. My dad used to say something to me, and it was so true. And I truly wish that I would have listened to him when he said it. in my younger days, he would say, son, it's okay to be desired. And what he meant by that was everybody that likes you or wants you, you don't have to go be in a relationship or talk to them. It's okay to just let them stay over there and desire you from a distance. Oh, but here we are now. And I share that with you. It's okay to be desired. It's okay to have somebody pursuing you. It's okay to have somebody who's chasing you. But baby, you chasing me and I'm chasing God. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to stop chasing God. And the only way that our paths will align is if God says that's the one. That's the only way we align. There has to come a time where we say, I can't continue to be distracted. I can't continue to be distracted by the desire to be in a relationship. I had somebody ask me, they said, man, well, they didn't ask me, they said it in conversation and they got back to me. They were like, man, George teaching on the single life. Like, what's that about? Come join and find out. This is what it's about. It's about learning what the single life should really look like, because we have had a very warped definition, because we've had a very worldly definition of it. I'm not going to hold y'all up anymore. I thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I look forward to catching up with you guys next week, next Monday. Listen, to all the fathers out there, happy belated Father's Day. And as I said on stage yesterday, for all the mothers that have bridged the gap and had to be a father because there wasn't a father in the house, happy Father's Day to you. The utmost respect to you.